Mike Callander, welcome to On the Line with DJ Insider.
G'day, mate. How you doing?
I'm great, man, and yourself?
Very well, thanks.
Big thanks to you for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
All right, well, can we start with you giving us a little bit of background about yourself?
Yep. I've been DJing for 15 years now, so I've seen a fair bit, seen a fair bit of action. I started out like everyone else, just collecting records and loving music and, just being a punter. Fast forward 15 years, I'm recording lots of music. I'm teaching people how to make music, teaching music software. I'm DJing still every weekend. It's still my bread and butter and still my passion. I'm doing live shows, and I'm pretty much 7 days a week, go, and just love every minute of it.
So 15 years DJing, where were your earliest influences from?
Look, probably in the 10 years prior to that, I was just exposed piece by piece to electronic music through my older brother. My brother Matt spent probably the early 90s in the UK, and he was going to like early Ministry of Sound and stuff like that. So he was feeding me, as a very young kid, 11, 12 years old, I was starting to get exposed to mixed CDs. And I remember really vividly the first time I ever heard a Triple J mix-up, and it was Carl Cox DJing on 3 decks. Yeah. And I was just blown away. Like, I knew some of the music that he was playing, like, a very small amount. And I was just blown away that I could hear it all at once. I was like, what the fuck is happening here? This is insane. I can hear a piece of this track and a piece of that track. And I became fascinated with the kind of the technical side of how to put that together. So as soon as I was old enough to, to get into any clubs or dance parties, there were really good dance parties at the Docks in Melbourne in the 90s. Yeah. I would go to the underage raves. I would sneak into the overage raves. I would go with my big brother and all his friends who were 10 years older than me. And I'd find my way to any way that I could find some electronic music. Sometimes it was techno. Sometimes it was kind of jungle. I was just frothing on watching people, like watching a DJ up the front and everyone just kind of in a bit of a trance, It was really special.
So is that where you started playing your first few gigs in then, or?
No, it was a few years after that. Like, back in my day, if I could say, if I can talk like an oldie, you didn't start DJing until you had been learning the craft of DJing for many years. So I was collecting records for 3 or 4 years before I would even have the courage to play them in front of anyone. And it was as much about sort of a critique of your musical taste as it was about anything technical. So I felt I was pretty bashful, to be honest, when I started, and I really felt like I had some frustrating moments alone trying to learn how to mix before I went out and did it in front of anyone. So it wasn't until sort of, I guess, 2000 that I started doing it. By that time I was 20. And then even then it was really hard. I mean, Melbourne was kind of like it is now. Yeah. Full of DJs, everything going off, but super competitive. So I found it pretty hard to get anyone to listen to my mixtape. So I ended up starting my own night with a friend and kind of kicked it off from there.
What was that called?
That was called Focus, Fokus. Right. And we started out just, I don't know, it was a techno club, but we were promoting it in different ways. Like the first flyer we did, we bought, I think, 3,000 7-inches from an old pressing plant. They were actually not at all techno or electronic. It was like old punk and rockabilly and stuff. And we got the 7s and printed our own stickers and stuck the flyer kind of on the 7-inch. So we were just trying to find a way to kind of stand out from the crowd.
So that's led you to Revolver. You've been a resident there for how long, Mike?
Playing every week for just over 5 years, and then there were probably 4 or 5 years playing there on an occasional basis before that. But yeah, as a kind of a part of the family and really feeling part of the furniture, it's been 5 years now.
Brilliant! What a venue it is. And is it Friday nights that you hold there?
Every Friday. Yeah, it's like literally like my second home. I kind of, that's one place I always know I'm going to be. I've knocked back so many gigs anywhere else to be there on a Friday.
Yeah.
Because it's the best, as you know.
It is. It
you
is.
spend enough time there. Yeah, it's a special place, and it's run by a special bunch of people too. Like they're really, I don't know, they're really professional. You can't run a venue for 18 years without learning a thing or two, and they really put into practice a really good business as well as a really good nightclub.
Yeah, it's an institution. It's so good for DJs to play in. It's such a good place to learn, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things about it is it's not the easiest room to play. Like I play out in the back room, which is, it's the quintessential Revolver space. But we have a lot of guys come through, a lot of internationals who come and, they know Revolver by reputation, but then they come in and they realize it's actually quite a challenge to make that room do what you want it to do. Like you really have to engage with people. You can't just come in and play your 10 best tracks. You've really got to work to make the people come with you, and the reward is that much greater when you get it right.
Yeah. Mate, tell us about your most memorable gig to date.
That's an easy one for me. There's one that stands out a lot because there's a real kind of story behind it. I hope you've got a few minutes.
Yeah, please.
In 2007, I played my first gig in Germany, which was at Cookies in Berlin. It was a Tuesday night gig, and it was to celebrate DJT's 25 year anniversary of DJing. So I knew DJT from his travels over here, and we became friendly and DJed together a lot. And then, he invited me over to perform at this thing alongside Mandy, Mr. C, Steve Bug, DJT, and another live act named Nuss as well. And so, my immediate thought on a lineup like that was, okay, I'm going to be playing the warm-up set at 10 p.m. or whatever. But when the set times came in, I was playing 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or something like that. Right after a bunch of my heroes and guys that I've really looked up to. So that all sounds pretty run of the mill. But go back 24 hours earlier to when I landed in Berlin. I landed, and of course my records didn't arrive. And I had been in Madrid the week prior visiting my buddy Sam, DJ Safari, and staying with his parents. So I immediately, and he was flying across for my gig, because this is like, I felt like I was going to the Olympics, to play at this gig. And so I called Sam immediately and said, Sam, you've got to bring your records because I don't have any. I'm fucked, And he said, oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm already at the airport. I'm about to board the plane. I can't help you. So, I'm freaking out. I was pretty concerned and just kind of waiting to find out if the airline would find my bags. And a couple of hours later, Sam calls me again and says, you're not going to believe this. I'm pretty sure I've got your records. He got off his flight. I flew in from Rome. He flew in from Madrid. He got off and saw at the very beginning of his conveyor belt, zooming around was my little camouflage record bag full of my bombs, and he just picked it up and, walked straight to the train station and zoomed right toward me. And I was like, all right, this gig is it's meant to be. It's going to be amazing. And then, so back toward the gig, I'm literally shitting myself, not literally shitting myself, but just about.
Yeah.
My hands are like this, it's 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., I'm not sure. Whoever's playing before me is about to finish. It's funny because I can't even tell you who it was right before me because it was just a blur, And so I got the shakes and I'm sculling beers going, fuck, I got to chill out, do this gig. And it's Tuesday night and I can't remember which guy from Mandy it was, Patrick or Philip. I get them mixed up, but one of them came up to me and said, he must have seen how much I was freaking out, and he was like, look, man, it's Tuesday night. It's the middle of the night. People are here to party. You just have to you got to treat this like it's just a party, and you've just got to, have fun, enjoy yourself. So I kind of tried to take his advice, and I literally had the best gig of my career. Probably even to this day, I could probably say that was certainly up there with the best. It was just this electric feeling of like I am on top of the world,
Wow. Tell us a bit about your productions and Mike Callander in the studio.
Sure. Well, the last couple of years have been pretty quiet for me on a production level. 3 or 4 years ago, I did an album and then a remix album on my label Hall Music, which is kind of dormant now. We're not really doing much with that at the moment. And in between then and now, I started School of Synthesis with Dave Carboni. So I've been really kind of focused on. I've still been in the studio a lot, but it's more been in terms of educating myself on things that I'm probably going to get asked about in the classroom.
Yes.
So I haven't been super creative until this last 12 months. I just kind of found my feet with running the school and teaching and stuff, and I've gotten this creative urge again. And now I'm spending literally business hours in the studio. Like,
brilliant.
My girlfriend goes to work at 7:30 a.m. and I go to work at 7:30 a.m. as well. Turn on all the machines, hit record, jam for hours, and then at the end of the day I go, fuck, that was a hard day at the office, and I go home and just be a normal person again.
Right.
So all that hard work's like I said before, most importantly I'm enjoying it. So
brilliant.
Spending a lot of time in there, and then I've got lots of stuff on the go for next year. Lots of collaborations. I've just joined a band with T-Rec and Honey Smack as well.
Yes, I was waiting to ask you that because we had T-Rec on a few weeks ago and he told us a little bit about it. So, tell us more.
Yeah, nice. Well, I've known Tarek for more than a decade. I don't know how long. We have a long history of sharing an interest in music, and even though we make different stuff, we have a lot of common ground. We've DJed together a bit and stuff. So, very recently, he was telling me about this band project that he started with Honey Smack.
Yeah.
They've been attempting to do a band kind of thing for a number of years. I think they've had this idea of doing kind of electronic meets rock for a long time. They invited me recently to join the band just to kind of fill this space. There's Tarek's live drumming, him going fucking bananas, and Honey Smack doing the kind of tweaked out acid kind of thing, and I'm trying to sit somewhere in the middle of those guys and create a kind of a bass tone, playing. I've got a Moog Sub 37 synthesizer and an SH101, and I'm doing kind of noise and bass, tape delays and big swells and that kind of thing, and it's all improvised. So it's just three guys who kind of know what they're doing on their own, all coming together and challenging each other a little bit. So.
Brilliant. I'd like to ask you, Mike, you touched on it there about School of Synthesis. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, that's been a big project for me for the last 3 years that we've been operating, and even some time before that, kind of putting it all together. I started it with my former teacher, David Carboni, who's himself a kind of veteran Melbourne producer, and he's a legend. As good as anyone. Noticed immediately about Dave when I met him when he was my teacher was, fuck, this guy knows how to deliver the knowledge. He knows how to simplify things and engage the students and just make the whole process really fluid. So I got to talking to him about teaching and stuff. He had this idea for a number of years prior that he wanted to start his own kind of school while he was working at RMIT, and he'd been teaching in London as well when he lived there. And he invited me to kind of get involved to do kind of the business side of things, just sort of administer the school. And then, like all magical stories about these kind of things, there was just this little thing missing from the puzzle, which was teaching Ableton Live, and I knew a bit about it. So I started teaching it, and then he really encouraged me and led by example with his teaching style and stuff. And fast forward a few years, and I mostly look after the fresh meat, the beginners, and Dave looks after all sorts of people, experienced producers, so we've got the full spectrum covered. The best kind of student is someone who's that keen, and they just come in, and I think the more you learn, the more you realize how much you've got to learn. So it's a really exciting journey for us too, like when we get someone who's just mega keen to learn more, because nobody is an expert at everything. It's really exciting for us.
Brilliant. All right, Mike, we've got a question in here. We put this up just a few days ago, and we've had a few people come in. This is a great one. It says, what advice would you give your 14-year-old self?
14 years old, shit. Probably less to do with music and just more to do with life in general. I would tell my 14-year-old self, none of this shit matters. None of whatever you're thinking or feeling or going through is going to matter in 10 years. Nobody cares, what was happening at this time. It's so, I kind of wish, my sister's got 4 kids, and sometimes I wish I could tell them that and just go, none of this is going to make any difference to you later. Just enjoy yourself. And it's kind of sounds like a bit of a theme for me, I guess. Just find a way to have fun.
Brilliant, mate. I hear you. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here, Mike. We've got one more question. Do you have any Australian artists you would like to hear us interview?
My favourite Australian artist is... actually, it's hard to pick one. I'll give you a couple.
It is.
There's of course Tornado Wallace, Louis Day, who is he's probably the hottest ticket of Melbourne around the world right now. He's probably a bit hard to pin down, however. If you want to go really inspirational to guys like me since forever, go back to like HMC, now recording as Late Night Tough Guy.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'd
I reckon that's who we want to definitely get.
Yeah, nice one.
All right, Mike. Well, it's been awesome having you on the line with DJ Insider. Thanks a million,
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. Peace out.
See you, mate.
Cheers.
Ciao.